Last season, one man made a promise.
So the classic is one of the classic of horror and thriller, Psycho. And we're going to compare it with Psycho Goreman.
He couldn't keep.
Psycho Goreman doesn't exist as a thing you can watch yet.
Now, he's got one more chance for redemption.
We watched Nosferatu and Twilight. I totally fucked up.
Join us this week on Citizen Kane vs. for Halloween Picks 2, The Rejackening.
We watched Psycho and Psycho Goreman.
Ah, the French champagne.
Can you tell me which members of the Reservoir Dogs you two are currently dressed as?
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Classic.
Classic Spielberg.
Classic Spielberg.
He needs to kill 94 different 65-year-old men over 2.5 years because those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Shake it! Shake it!
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is...
Sean,
Yep.
you have outdone yourself, my friend. How long did that fucking take you?
Like an hour and a half.
Okay.
It got to a point where I was like, I could make this better. And then I was like, no, I shouldn't.
Oh, no, dude. It was great. It was so good.
Right.
If it was any better, I would be almost hurt. It was just like if you put that much effort into like kind of making fun of me.
gently prodding you.
No, this is a nice amount that I feel like I'm almost being made a tribute. Like there's a
little bit.
Not being made a tribute of, but being,
Sure.
Yeah, but also being clearly mocked. So thank you.
I'm glad you liked it.
Bravo. Welcome. Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome.
One and all to our podcast.
Just trying to shake things up. Welcome to Citizen Kane versus. This is a silly podcast where we compare a movie that we tried to compare to another movie many months ago, but one of them being a classic and the other one being more of a piece of schlock. And we ask ourselves honestly, which one is, better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my two friends, a one.
Sean Jacqueline.
And the other.
Daniel Benoit.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Grandma Dan.
Thank you.
Grandma Dan today. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see Dan is a grandma. And he sort of has a grandma wig on. This is all Maurice's clothing too, just like last week.
All of it,
right?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, hey man.
Does she
long
dress
lockdown.
exclusively in costumes?
No, she has like a fucking vintage locker, just like full of old shit. A lot of it is kind of niche. So I guess costumes. She is going to help me kickstart my drag career, actually, just based on what she has in her little tickle trunk.
Do you have a drag name picked out? You must. He's improvising.
Be careful. Be careful. Be careful.
Diamond Dan.
I'm surprised you haven't. You love drag. I'm surprised you haven't picked one for yourself.
Well, I mean, I just decided today, right in this moment, that I wanted to be a drag queen myself. So it'll take a little bit of time to find a name. Dirty Diana.
Camera lens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not even trying.
Yeah, no, that's not true. Well, anyway, we did it. We came back and we watched these movies that we promised that we would watch way back earlier in this pandemic. It's like, what is it, like almost a year later since this was? No, it was like October.
No, yeah.
And we did it, and it's exciting. I'm glad we did it. This is going to be an interesting one because we'll get into this more. But Psycho Goreman is definitely like on its way maybe to being a sort of classic. I think it hit a real note for people when it came out during the pandemic, as just like, ooh, fun, yay. So it has like a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes,
so this may be the first week where we're deviating a little from our format, because I don't think
it's
I would
got a
necessarily
6.7 on IMDb, so
it's definitely
but
it's a B movie.
Yeah.
It's schlock still. Yeah, it's schlock.
But I would argue it's schlock in the way that like Evil Dead is schlock. It's a brilliant movie. It's a good movie. It's just campy. Does that also mean schlock? Okay, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Because it's also knowingly bad at points, right?
Yes, I think so.
True. But yes, I agree. It is on the fast track to being a cult classic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dan, do you want to tell us more about these movies?
Yeah, I do.
Dude, as a pirate again.
No, I listened back to the pirate one, and it's true. I warped into troll so quick.
Right. These movies. All right, take it away.
Here we go. In the red corner, representing the classic, a deranged motel owner with serious mommy issues who likes to treat his guests to sandwiches and milk with a side of stabbing. Coming in at 109 minutes, starring Anthony Perkins, Psycho. And in the blue corner, representing the schlock, the tag team of an overconfident little girl and her meek older brother, who gain control over the universe's most dangerous and violent creature after randomly stumbling across the gem that powers its life force during a game of Crazy Ball. Coming in at 95 minutes, starring Nina, Josie, Hannah, and Owen Meyer, Psycho Goreman.
I don't know any Psycho Goreman specific noises to make. Yeah.
Just
Not my hunky boys!
Oh, do I?
That makes sense that Steven voiced that. Also starring friend of the pod, maybe, and friend in real life, Stephen Vlahos.
Yes.
Buddy of ours. Did the voice.
A lovely chap.
And almost starring yours truly.
Yes. Were you up for the voice?
This close. No,
Like
I
You were the body.
auditioned for the body.
Now I'm just picturing your body with Steve's voice, and boy.
Ooh,
That's a
horny
12
are
out of
you?
10 right there.
But you're wearing that dress, and your hair is like that. Yeah.
Which also would have
16
fit
out of 11 right
perfectly
there.
into this movie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. That was great. That was both a really clear summary of Psycho Goreman and a very understated summary of Psycho as a man with mommy issues.
Yeah.
Like serving people sandwich. Like that's what you really took from the film.
I said deranged.
Sandwiches. Okay.
You did say deranged.
If we're highlighting the central character of the movie, I think I encapsulated it quite well.
A relatable,
Jack's
a
like,
relatable man from middle class America.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had fun watching these movies. I will say that it's always
a great week.
I hope you did too. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Oh, whoa.
No, I had a blast.
There wasn't enough failed porn star or. See, I've already forgotten the last abortion that Daniel brought on.
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble. That's the one.
Wait, which one was the failed porn star?
Bucky Larson. No, he was a successful
that
porn
one.
star, but then he failed.
Yeah,
then he failed.
Did he fail? Didn't he give it up for his...
I don't remember.
That's the same as failing in America.
That's true.
Quitting for
You know?
love?
Just making the decision to stop doing anything.
Yeah.
you know. Well, let's just get into it. Let's just talk about movies and do the things and do the rounds and follow the format that we've tried to establish. So beginning with our first round of this boxing metaphor podcast, story, was it good for you?
I love how you wanted to replace story good, but you haven't figured out how to yet.
Yeah, I'm just, we're not critics. We're not professional movie raters, right? We're just people who have too much time on their hands, okay?
Was it good for you?
Well, let me play the 4-minute clip that I created. No, I don't have that.
Okay, I was kidding. Sean's been busy
I got
this
so
week.
excited for a second.
No, 4 minutes of that would be bad.
I could do 3 hours of that.
Okay.
It was brilliant.
Oh.
So yeah, story. This I will start by saying is going to be a bit of a tricky week for me because I watched Psycho Goreman first, and
So did I.
For anybody who knows me well, they will know that is a movie that was made specifically for me.
Dan.
It's correct.
Yes.
I was picturing you giggling like a girl.
Oh,
in
there
that
were
dress.
times. So that's weird that's how you were imagining me, Sean. But I watched it in our bedroom on my laptop, like tucked under a blanket fort.
Wow.
Because the glare from the sun was ruining my. So I was just like a little kid, just like huddling under blankets, watching this movie and just laughing my ass off to myself.
Totally.
Yeah. But then I just watched Psycho, and there are parts of it that were kind of flimsy for me, but I thought there were parts of it that were fucking brilliant.
It's a masterpiece.
It is truly a masterpiece, and I remember watching it with you, Sean, a while ago, and having a very different experience.
Right.
And again, I mean, I will say this was also a little tarnished by the fact that if you know the ending to Psycho, you can't really watch Psycho a second time.
Yeah, I realized that too, that I haven't seen this movie before, but I have seen the ending.
Yeah, same here. I've seen
Which
this
is
now
kinda
like
shit.
4 times, I think, but I've never seen it not knowing how it ends because of how influential it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also, I mean, I don't know if this is because I'm spoiled as a contemporary movie watcher, but I wonder if the ending would have been predictable for viewers seeing it for the first time in the 60s.
No.
Because it seems like it would have to be. Like as soon
Predictable?
as... I think so.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I hear what Dan's saying though.
Yeah.
I think I like in terms of audiences now versus audience in the 60s, I think just because so many horror thriller films have been made by now, like
Right,
how
and
many
that's-
thousand more
Yeah.
shows and whatever. Like Miranda called it after the first hour. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,"
And she had never seen it before.
never seen it, didn't know anything about it, and she was like, "Oh, so there's like a kind of a split personality thing, and he's his mother." Like even before anyone said like, "Oh, his mother's been dead these
Yeah.
past 40 years" or whatever.
Right.
But we live in a time when every single movie like this has at least 3 or 4 twists that we are already programmed to be like looking for ahead of time. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, but I
1960.
mean, this in 1960, the Twilight Zone had already been around for a while, and the kind of template that this movie follows is very similar to the Twilight Zone, where you
Yeah.
kind of build up the mystery for an hour to reveal the big twist at the very end.
Yeah, but I don't
It's
think, like,
the
if
M.
you're
Night
looking at-
Shyamalan treatment.
If you're looking at audience sizes, like I don't think the Twilight Zone's audience is the audience they were trying to reach with this film. They were trying to make a mainstream general audience film, and it just happened to kind of have like Hitchcock had his TV show running at this point too. He filmed the movie with
That-
the
that-
crew.
Right.
What, he did the
He had a
what
TV
did he
show.
do the
Hitchcock
Flintstones?
presents. He's
did
in
he
the
do?
Flintstones now. Hitchcock
Oh.
presents. Yeah. I guess.
I think he is in this movie, though. I think he is in Psycho, actually. I think he's
Yeah. He's
he's
in
an
the first
extra.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just standing outside the window, right? Yeah, okay, that was
Yeah.
him.
He always starred in. He always had a cameo somewhere in his movies.
Right. But
So
I guess
noble.
like I wonder what other conclusion you can draw when they spend so long clearly establishing Norman Bates as like a shifty character, and you're not seeing his mom.
Well,
Yeah.
but they show him as shifty, but they don't show him as anything outside of either like a boys will be boys kind of thing. Like peeping through the peephole it's creepy, absolutely. But at that time, that's kind of like that's why a woman shouldn't be staying in these hotels. Not like he's a bad person. It's like, well, of course, what were we expecting? It's a motel. I think with the reveal that he is putting on his mother's clothing, with the sensibilities audiences had at the time, I don't think that's what they are looking for. I don't think they're expecting that at all.
I think it blew people's minds at the time. I think it totally.
Well, I mean,
totally
clearly it did
wrecked
because
people.
it's a movie that's still talked about and referenced in pop culture now.
Yeah,
right?
it's a true classic of cinema,
Yeah.
which is why I wanted to get on the podcast, and I knew it would be strong, which is why I wanted to get Psycho Gorman in there, because I knew it had this B movie vibe, but I knew it also had strengths. Like I knew it could get in the ring and go a few rounds.
And it's not another thriller, because putting another thriller against Psycho, it's hard to really do that. Especially a schlocky thriller. But if you're putting a parody slasher gore film up against Psycho, then that's a cool pairing.
Yeah, you could have put it up against that one that Shyamalan actually did with what's his nuts playing all the different personalities, like a personality.
Oh, Split.
Split. That could have been.
I've heard that movie's quite good, actually.
It's not
'cause
all
James
bad,
McAvoy is a
but
bit of a
sometimes it's
god.
very bad. Yeah, James McAvoy is very good, but he's very good in a pretty bad movie. It's also kind of satisfying. It's silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, Psycho, I agree. Like it's very well done. It's a funny thing where I was like, is this also a bit of a time thing, that how they space out the story is so different from how it would be done now, that I knew, like there's stuff I didn't know about it, right? I didn't know the whole setup. Like I didn't know anything else except for like what's
The
really
shower
going on.
scene, yeah.
Right.
The shower scene happens actually like 45 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe even
it's
earlier,
like,
actually.
Yeah, I think it's like half hour.
Yeah.
it's like, I think I checked. It's around it's around the halfway point, regardless.
Right.
Doesn't really matter. But like, and I was like, what? That happens now? Oh shit. Like I had it's like, and then it's like, fucker, like new characters.
Yeah.
And then, which is kind of tricky for me, because then the movie, like it's not great for general movies to have your, like the character you've been following a lot. Like there were a lot of shots of just like her driving and thinking, like it's so much about her, and then to have her gone, it's like
with any other director of that time, this movie would not be remembered.
Yeah.
But I think what he does, at least in my viewing experience, what he does do effectively is he paints Norman as an abused son whose actions cannot be blamed on him. They must be blamed on his upbringing because of his overbearing mother. So he is innocent of all the things he's doing. So when the mother kills Janet Leigh, then our affections go to Norman as this guy who just wants to like live a nice life. He wishes he's trying to protect his mom. He didn't want her to kill this thing. So I think that switch, the like protagonist switch, is really effectively done.
Right, because then it becomes about the struggle of Norman Bates. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting.
I guess that's true. I guess maybe, Jack, you can speak more to it as somebody who hadn't seen the movie, because watching the movie through the lens of someone who already knew the outcome, I couldn't help but just see his actions as that of a fucking psychopath.
Right.
Because he's hiding bodies and drowning cars. But even if I didn't know that, I would say all the lengths he goes to, like she's already a suspicious character to begin with. They do... Through his storytelling, you get his side of the story, so you know that he had an abusive mom, et cetera, but he himself is still shifty. So that coupled with hiding the body and burying the car and all that stuff, it doesn't get me on board with Norman Bates.
But that's you knowing the ending. I think
True.
If you are just put in a theater and you're presented with this, yes, you don't like that now you're cheering for him, but I think he's the only one you can cheer for.
I don't know. I mean, look, maybe for some people, I think maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Again, I again, I knew who Norman Bates was. I knew that he was the killer, and but again, Miranda didn't. And I'll tell you from just her reactions and stuff like that, and talking about it as we were watching it, she was like, when his first scene, he's so kind of nervous and sweet.
So good.
And he actually, like, for a movie of the era, feels actually so, like, he does a great job. He feels quite human, but like not like polished. Like he's not like a leading, like, well, hi.
Yeah.
Like it's like this fake put on macho thing. He's just like, oh yeah, I can get you something. Like it's really quite genuine.
Yeah, he seems like he just seems like a sweet kind of boy who's never grown up, right?
Yeah. And she was like, clearly she was like, Miranda was like, oh, this guy's great. He's so sweet. What a sweet guy. But then by the time he had that his second scene where they're in the office and he's leaning in being like, those people clicking their tongues. She was like, oh, okay. So it's him.
He's got
and I was
something.
like, yeah. Like, so, and then, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't fully add up to a sympathetic character.
No.
I'll agree that I didn't know this happened as well. There's this whole kind of epilogue, I'll call it, that happens. That is, it's a fucking shit show.
It's
I honestly,
ridiculous.
I started like pulling at my hair, being like, "Is this really happening? Is this just an actor improvising as well?" Like he just kept going, and it for those who haven't seen it, there's a scene afterwards where a guy comes out who is supposed to be a psychiatrist, but is who thinks he's playing a detective in a noir film, just like leaning against file cabinets and reaching into his pocket, and he thought he was his mother, but one had taken over, and that's why it wasn't really normal. And he explains all of the subtle intricacies of the movie in like this 5-minute monologue that is an absolute dump.
It's a huge steamy dump, and it's only
so,
mildly recovered.
I was like, I couldn't believe it.
It's only mildly recovered by going back to Norman in the cell and just him being perfectly still except for his eyes. And you go, okay, great. We got an ending that we can latch onto. But boy, did that scene take a steamer.
Oh, where he explains how it wasn't really Norman that killed him, but it was in fact his other personality who was his mother, and she had taken over, and now she's fully taken over. All this stuff that I was like, what the fuck?
And I found that to be so strange and out of place too, because one of the reasons why this movie is so amazing is because it is a literal masterclass in visual storytelling. The dialogue for the most part it's pretty what's what I'm looking for? It's like it's efficient.
It gets the point done. Yeah,
exactly. And Hitchcock does an amazing job of just leading you through this movie with just visuals all the way through, and you never miss a beat. You're always right. You're always right there in the story. So to then shift from that to just a single scene where a guy just like dumps exposition on you for 10 minutes.
It shatters the film.
Yeah. And it's also so weird because like no one is human anymore. That even like her sister and her boyfriend are sitting there, like they're hoping to get answers. But what happened to their sister / lover? And this guy is just doing this kind of like speech where he's like, but he kind of leans in and he's like, well, you see, the thing is, Norman, see, his mom, well, he killed her because Norman quite liked your sister. He wanted to have sex with her, and she's like, and you can tell it's like
not only does he even separates it further. He says yes, and then he killed the girl. Like he starts referring to her as the girl, and it's alienating and awful.
And then I think after that or something that she's like, so my sister is dead, and he's like, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, he wanted to have sex with her, and that's why his mom. It's like I was like, you're a bad everything, and
Holy crap.
This needs to be cut from this movie.
I do wonder.
So problematic.
I do wonder if there were directorial choices from Hitchcock about their performances. And I was wondering, do I do this in acting or here? But I think it is a directorial choice where our main characters, Norman, Marion, really those two they're very realistic. They are they're very rooted in their characters. There's none of that weird flashiness that we got from that guy.
Yeah.
All of law enforcement and the boyfriend who are just bumbling around being like, oh, they're definitely doing she's gone and they took the money and it's all about the money and they're trying to get the money.
Yeah.
All of them are overacting and are doing
Yeah.
that like 50s 60s schlock shtick, right? So I'm wondering how much that was Hitchcock purposely trying to create the divide between the two worlds.
Maybe, but then wouldn't it have made more sense to have the boyfriend and Marion be the grounded actors because they're the ones who are trying to like escape their external worlds together? To, you know what I mean? Like, would it make more sense to have them
escaping,
separated?
Right? They've been brought to this world kicking and screaming. It's Norman and Marion that are the ones that try to do anything else, right? It's just
Marion.
Maybe.
I guess Marion is trying. Well, yeah.
Yeah. I also didn't think the boyfriend was overacting that much. I thought he had a bit more of that era's.
Oh, I don't know when he gets
thoughts on it. But...
we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I agree. I have a note about how weird it was to watch him act in the same scene as Norman Bates because they're just like in two different
polar
films.
opposites.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're trying to show that separation,
But to get back to your point, Jack, this movie is strange because it is actually kind of two movies, right? Like you set up an entire story with Marion, and then it takes a fucking sharp right turn and becomes like kind of like a detective thriller when it's being set up as a horror movie for the first half. And I think that's kind of where the movie falters, kind of in line with what you were saying, Jack, that once you're ripped out of the story you've been following, and you don't really have another protagonist to follow, the story itself kind of fizzles out. Yeah. Because then all you have is Norman Bates, and you're just kind of watching the time until he gets caught or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to sound, seriously, like not to make this too big of a point to sound like a baby, like I didn't know the characters well enough, but like to not have a scene also with her sister before she made a run for it. Instead of having tons of scenes of her literally just like look a shot on her face for like minutes and minutes that like both Miranda and I were like, it's still just her face driving. Like, what the fuck? Like, put a scene where she talks just a little bit.
Yeah, but that's Janet Leigh's face, you know. And in 1960, people were not allowed to arrive late to this film. Hitchcock made like a contract with all the theaters, and that they would not let you in if you weren't at the start because he wanted them all to get Janet Leigh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's fun fact. But also the guy who was, I don't even know what he was. He was some sort of higher up in law enforcement, the one who they go and talk to.
Oh yeah, the sheriff. Yeah.
Is he a sheriff? I was like, is he a judge? I don't know. But they go and talk to him, and they actually know Norman Bates, but they're introduced fucking with 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It doesn't be a big interaction, but like when someone pulls up, he's leaving, and he's been having a chat with Norman. And he's like, well, you take care now, Norman. Like he's maybe they have a close relationship, and he checks up on him. Like just something that we've seen these people a little bit, but to drop them in with 20 minutes left and have them make these like big things on like the end of the movie, I was like,
I think the explanation for this, not the excuse by any means, because I do kind of feel what you're saying, but the explanation for that is it was written and produced by the crew and the team that he did his TV show with. So they're all used to doing 22-minute short content where you get things bam, 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 resolve, end of episode kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah. It feels like an episodic thing. It's just weird because it's not that long.
Oh.
So, but I'm not to say that I didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it felt, compared to what we always see now, it also felt kind of fresh and kind of different. That I was like, whoa, she's gone. Ooh, okay, let's do it. Great. That scene happens now. She's dead. Climax in the middle.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, eat your heart out.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So I dug it. What about let's talk PG for short.
Yeah, that's so funny. This movie is called PG. That's so funny.
Yeah, they really lead into that.
Yeah.
Another masterpiece, in my opinion, and I say that in complete earnest. I think this movie is genius. I think it is so clever and self-aware. I think the writing in this film was. I always talk about I like smart stupid, and that's what this film is.
Yeah.
Like this film knows what it is, and all of its dumb jokes are like they're smart dumb jokes, and they're well timed, and they're dry witted, and the actors are for the most part all very strong, with a couple of exceptions, and the production design for what they're going for,
Yeah. Oh,
mwah,
unparalleled.
top
Yeah.
notch.
Yeah.
And like clearly on a budget, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Both these
so-
films, yeah. That's
so
pretty
I
crazy.
I have very few bad things to say about this film, but we can dive into the intricacies of the story.
Give me 2.5 examples of what you thought was genius in this movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you know you can't put me on the spot, Jack. I don't know if I have like specific examples of what I thought was
The
genius
lore.
in the movie.
The lore, the backstory, the history to the entire thing they
But-
created. Brilliant.
But even the lore,
I
like
agree.
the fact that the whole setup is like the most vague piece of fucking dribble
Yeah, yeah,
that you've
yeah.
ever seen, because it's a perfect way to set up this movie, because they are paying homage to like campy
Yeah.
80s horror, right? So they're
E.T. for creepy adults. You know?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of. But also
Kind
like
of.
an homage to just like weird old sci-fi novels that people just churned out, and they just had to be like, from Gygax, and then there was this, and they went to the Shigonians, and then they came down and they ruled. It's just like it comes across so they play it so earnestly, and they're always undercutting it by the human characters, right? They're always just being like, that was boring.
Yeah.
Now that you're done with your stupid, boring story,
Like the aliens' reactions to Crazy Ball, hilarious.
very funny.
Every moment that the dad is on screen, but like his writing and performance, like
I'm
he's a
going to
tricky-
deviate from you there.
Yeah, he's a tricky character.
No,
I,
he's-
Daniel,
yeah, go ahead.
I really liked this film. I had a great time watching most of this film. The
Uh-huh.
parents just swung and missed pretty much every opportunity for me.
Really?
And and that's the writing. It's the writing, because they overwrote everything. For the parents, everything just went too long and was developed to a point where I didn't care anymore.
I'm inclined to agree in a way.
Interesting.
I thought they were going to be really fun at the get-go. Like, I thought his energy and some line deliveries at the beginning, I was like, oh, this guy's quite funny. I like what he's bringing to this movie. And then she was fun too, that she was playing like the mom in the background of a toy commercial, where she was kind of like putting her hands on her hips and going like, shaking her head and being like, oh, those kids. And then like gets on board and goes out and dresses up Psycho Goreman with them. That I was like, that's pretty funny. Like that's the energy. And these, like, as kind of peripheral characters. Once they became more integral to the story, I thought they kind of fell apart.
And we learned about their bad relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part was a little tricky for me too.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, he is very clearly written in a way that you are supposed to agree with him more, even though
Yeah, because
like
she's a bitch.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
absolutely.
true.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe I didn't find myself on his side. Once they got down to like the crux of the issues of their relationship, and she started like highlighting the fact that he's a lazy piece of shit. Totally, like, I didn't find myself on board with him at all. She was totally in the right, and I think that I felt like it was supposed to be that way. I felt like they were poking fun at like the lazy dad stereotype, and actually trying to paint a more honest picture of like the wife's position.
But he's cool. He's the one who makes
But
the
he's
cool
not.
choice.
He's
But
not,
But
like-
he's
No,
not
but
cool. He's not cool.
I think I'm
gets
kind
to
of
do
in
cool
between you.
things.
He does do the cool things, except she gets to be turned into a Power Ranger with guns on
A
her
Power Ranger
shoulders.
villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those choices should have been switched. She should have been the one who like he should have been the more lazy one who's sitting at home, like he's the one who's still at home when the alien arrives and is like, yeah, sure, like look, I just want this to be as easy as possible.
Right.
And then he thinks he can show everyone by becoming a Power Ranger, like I'm finally going to show you I can do stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should have reversed it, and the choice was clearly made in my like, it looks to me, it looks pretty obvious that it was because they wanted lazy dad, they wanted Homer Simpson to be the cool one still that sides with our hero was like a Goreman.
They make a point of painting him as like a scared, weak, shitty, lazy person. He starts off as like the cool, laid back, chill guy, but as he's on screen more, you learn who he is pretty quickly. I don't think that he's the cool dad.
They just because she says that to him, but those are her lines, and then so it's her being mean, and then he gets to be funny.
It's also, I mean, he is funny, but it's also him being his fear and meekness in the movie is not it's highlighted by what she says, but it's not like it's not revealed through her dialogue. It's revealed through him just being a chicken shit on screen. You learn that he sucks before she says he sucks, which is why I feel like by the time that they get down to their argument, you're supposed to be on her side because you've seen how shitty he is. All that's missing is like a beer can in his hand, and he's a fucking deadbeat dad.
I think I'm right down the line with both of you because I couldn't care less about either of them by the time the final confrontation happened. I was done with them. I just wanted both of them out of my lives.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because by like the climax of the movie, the only person who I actually wanted to see more of was Psycho Goreman, which was weird because I also wasn't super on board with him. Like I didn't when they make the decision to give him the gem back, I wasn't like, oh, that's the right move for this movie. I was still like, that's fucking silly. He's an awful person. Yeah. There isn't really like a winner in this movie. Although when he opens the portal to leave and just starts walking down the street and blowing shit up.
Yeah, man.
Brilliant.
Like,
brilliant.
This movie, I feel bad criticizing this film because it legitimately is when people say no one does original work anymore. This is, I like fucking watch this movie if you want original work because it's more original work than you've seen in the last decade.
And it's just fun. I haven't seen this much fun, like truly everyone involved, I think, having fun in a long time in film.
Yeah.
Like it's just not done anymore. Everything's so highly highly produced, overproduced that this is just it's just
budget,
fun.
The budget was clearly low, but every single dollar was loved. Like everything that went into this film was crafted to the most it could possibly be.
Yeah.
And I have no notes as far as it comes to that. Parents were overwritten. A lot of this movie was overwritten. Those are my notes, I think.
And I'm going to argue the movie would have been better if they switched what happened. That she should have been the one who made the metaphorical move to drive away from her home where she was stuck with him to fight for Psycho Goreman, and he should have been the one who overcame his laziness by trying to become a Power Ranger. I just think it would have been a better movie.
But that wouldn't have made sense because she is the more rational one, so she would not be in favor of supporting Psycho Goreman. Like, it makes sense that he, as the stupid dad who wants to be the cool dad, would take the side of the kid who he wants to think he's cool. And the mom would make the rational, level-headed, safe decision and try and save her kids and the world.
Yeah, but now you're kind of picking and choosing how characters get to have their arcs, right? I'm saying what makes more sense. Rational to support just her daughter and trusting her children. You know what I mean? Letting go of her rationality. You know what I mean? Like
that would be out of character based on what they've established in the movie. I'm not picking and choosing arcs.
No, but that's what arcs are. Is that when the character that you've established grows in some way. Once a character is established as favoring reasonability, that doesn't mean that they always have to make what is arguably the more quote unquote reasonable choice. No. Right?
I mean, I guess that's not me agreeing with you, but I see your point.
But by that same logic, I could say the dad shouldn't go because he's late. I could say the dad shouldn't go because he's lazy, and he's too lazy to do that. So that, you know what I mean? Like if you're going to argue that you can do that, you know what I mean? Like it's
sure. I personally think that the whole turning one of the parents into a Power Ranger thing was a little unnecessary and didn't really serve the plot generally.
Yeah, of course.
The whole ending's overwritten to the point where like it becomes repetitive and kind of nonsensical.
Yeah. Which is the point. Yeah. Right? Like it's
sure, but then it's not executed well enough to be the point. In my humble opinion. But again, I like everything I'm saying here is like I fucking love this film. I loved it. Same. It was great.
I had a very fun time.
I love the whole idea of it's just the backstory. Him going into his tortured past and how he found the power, and that whole sequence was breathtaking. And it's in this stupid ass film. It's beautiful.
It's amazing that it's breathtaking and also looks so cheap at the same time.
Those costumes are dope. The council, every single one of those council is a completely different costume.
Absolutely.
The brain in a jar, and he covers the brain in the jar's eyes because it doesn't have arms that it can cover its own eyes with.
One of them does a jaw drop, and it's just the animatronic face's jaw loosening.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. The movie really likes this crazy ball thing.
Yeah.
And I would say it succeeds in making me like Crazy Ball too. If I was like a kid, I would have wanted to play Crazy Ball too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because they make it look so fucking cool, and also for a split second pull you out of it and show you that it's actually like a ridiculous, probably not very fun, nonsensical game, right? Yeah. That quick cut where they cut the music out and just show you like two stupid kids spinning in circles in the backyard.
Yeah,
I think
it is how I imagine Quidditch, to be honest. And I know, like we were talking before the podcast.
Shots fired.
Quidditch is now a thing. Quidditch always seemed like gobbledygook to me, and just watching people run around with brooms between their legs does not convince me that it isn't gobbledygook.
It's an objectively bad game based on the rules that JK set out.
Yeah.
Everyone scores until someone catches a mystical thing, and it wins, and the game's over. Okay.
But no trans people are allowed.
Oh, fuck.
Sorry, that's just JK's rules. I'm just quoting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if real world Quidditch existed, I would still watch the fuck out of it.
It does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Man. There are university leagues.
I know what you mean. I mean like wizards on fucking broomsticks that are flying in the air.
Yeah, but
I mean,
you were a
Harry
wizard.
Potter Quidditch.
If you were a wizard and could do anything in the world with magic, would you watch a bunch of losers fly around on brooms?
If it was like my school's fucking national sport, probably.
So you're saying it's tribal. It's not. There's no actual inherent value to it. It is purely based on the tribal instincts of your culture.
Yeah. I think as a human outsider, there is objective value in the spectacle of a wizard game.
Okay.
this podcast has really gone somewhere here.
God bless you.
That line is going in our next intro.
It is.
For sure. Could someone just clock that, Sean? Can you write that down?
Yeah, Jack, could you figure that out? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to write it down. Yeah. So, and what about the kids? I don't know if I should talk about the story of the kids. I generally thought they introduced the premise quickly and they get us going, and there's some very funny lines in this.
Yeah, the little girl's a psychopath, and it's mostly funny.
It's mostly
she
funny.
gets to be a little much as the film goes on, which I guess is kind of the point, because again, you're supposed to start on board with her and then eventually kind of see that she's actually she's the real monster, right?
Yeah.
Psych.
She took me on a roller coaster of being like, "Oh, you're going to be fun. Oh, that what? Oh, no, yes." Very whoa. What? Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
And maybe to get to her acting bit beforehand, I don't think any of it is like, oh, she's a bad child actor. I think it is because she was making choices.
Oh, yeah.
that I would never have thought to make at that age.
Yeah.
I would not make at this age. And so, like, she's clearly got a lot of creativity and thought, but it just wasn't honed as well as it could be, I think.
Yeah. But overall,
Yeah.
She was doing a good job. She was kind of holding down the movie
Yeah.
at the same time, which is pretty
Well,
wild.
I think that
This is acting,
because she
part of
is
it.
technically, I guess, the protagonist in this film. I mean,
I guess so,
her or PG, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like about their relationship, sort of.
Yeah.
With the brother, kind of.
Yeah. No, I guess it's
Yeah,
hers. It's hers. Because she has the transformation, right? She turns into.
Does she? Does she have a transformation?
Yeah, she says she respects him or whatever. She taps out at the end, right?
She just says, "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry.
She has
Yeah,
one
so,
line where she.
So
and
she
when he
has
first-
a transformation. So does PG, I guess, though, right?
Yeah. Well,
I think
yes.
he thinks that he has had a
does.
transformation.
He's gonna go use love to destroy the galaxy.
He can destroy the galaxy with love, the power of love. Did he give the stone back? What did he throw them?
Yeah, I know. You gave her
I
the
think he
stone.
gave the stone back. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that
Yeah.
was not clear enough.
No, it wasn't.
It looked
They
like
didn't
he
show
threw
the
off a
glow.
piece of his chest. I was like, was it the
Yeah.
stone? But he's also super powerful without it. Okay. Very good. I think we need to push along.
Yeah.
I feel like we've said a lot of what we need to say. So end of round, boxing metaphor. Moving into our second official round, which is looks. Did you like the looks? The looks, were they nice on your eyes?
It's getting
Yeah.
rockier and rockier, man.
It really is. I'm not going to act like I nailed that. All right. So Psycho, as we said, is super visual in how it tells a story up
Yes.
until the ending.
Up until
Yes.
yeah,
Where they forget
ending.
that viewers have eyes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like just in case you passed out this whole movie.
For all you dum-dums who are watching the movie today, here's what happened.
There must have been a bunch of people who like test audiences that they showed it to that it ended before that, and there's like, what? Wait,
Why was he wearing a dress?
wait. So where's his mom? I thought she was a ghost. And they were like, shit, we have to put in an ending where let's hire some guy, and he has to tell everyone every single detail of the movie. Once again.
Yeah.
I mean, I do kind of feel like some explanation is needed after that scene in the cellar.
Yeah, 3 lines.
Like it's like 3 lines or like I don't know, like I don't know what it would be, but definitely not what they did. But that scene on its own is not enough explanation to like get you to a resolution of the story.
No.
Right.
But anyway,
looks.
So looks though. Yeah, the visual storytelling is pretty fantastic. There's a lot of tension that isn't like, again, how we're used to seeing it done now with like really intense musical stings. Like this movie does have that. It's kind of, I think it started some musical stings in a whole new way. But
Yeah. Definitely.
you know, like, and it builds, which is nice. Like it's more subtle. It's just the shot of it begins with her leaving town and her boss seeing her and smiling, and then kind of doing a double take and then being like, what? And then and then the police officer sees her. Like there's a nice visual build that you're like, this situation is worse than the last one.
Yeah.
I thought the way they shot the first cop interaction was so effective.
Yeah.
So effective. So claustrophobic. Just that close up on the fucking intimidating police officer's face. So good. And I mean, especially for the time, I know this is maybe an acting note, but I think it's also a looks note because there's so many like subtle visual cues from the actors in this film to do what you're saying, Jack, where it doesn't give anything away really, but like it just serves to unsettle you and like tip you off that something's not quite right every step of the way. So it does build even if nothing like overt is happening, which I think is really, really smart.
For sure. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think there's I think again for the time I'm used to watching these older movies and seeing a lot of stuff in the wide, a lot of like single shot scenes, for the conservation of film and whatever. But I thought that the cinematography in this movie was beautiful in the most efficient way possible.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't like the very first shot pretty wild for the time as well, where like the camera came in from outside the building and went through the window, and I think they must have cut it, and then it was in the room with them, and then it was able to turn and look at them on the bed. Right, starts with them in the bedroom.
Yeah. And
also really hot, those two.
it was the first time
So
that
hot.
that a
Hot
woman.
couple.
Erin told me. Erin studied this film in university, and she said it was the first time that a woman's feet had ever been off the floor while on a bed. So,
Wow.
What?
in film, it was the first time that feet had been shown. A woman is on a bed, and her feet are also on the bed.
I mean, it's
I was-
very risque for the time as well. How much of
I was
her
wondering why
time-
that scene made me so horny, but that explains it.
Yeah, yeah.
She's ready for a nap.
Non-carpeted feet.
Yeah.
I'd love to cuddle up and just have a
And
bit of sleep.
she's in her brassiere, so
Right.
A number of brassieres throughout the movie,
Number
and then
of them.
also a lot of silhouetted nudity when she in the famous,
Or just
very
like
famous
out of focus nudity.
yeah.
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 She spent 6 days doing the shower scene.
Really?
6 days.
I mean, that's insane.
What?
Yeah.
Especially because it looks like they just did 5 or 6 close-ups on
No,
her
man.
face.
Oh, no. That scene is famous. Apparently, it was 78 shots and 52 cuts. Is 78-52. There's a documentary about just that scene. 78 shots and 52 cuts.
Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah, I mean, okay. 78 shots?
Yeah. Yeah, because, well, I mean, think of it. It cuts really quickly between all that.
It
all
does.
Right.
the
It does.
footage, right?
Yeah, because I know people like apparently it was a thing that people kind of growing up, having seen this movie when they were younger, they thought it showed her getting stabbed, but there's never actually any stabbing in all of it. You see a knife touch her once.
Her stomach. She gets it in the stomach, doesn't she?
No, it only
there's
ever
never
like
a
it
piercing.
makes contact with her body, but there's never a piercing.
Right.
Which made
And there's like
me
no blood on the knife. It's actually quite
it made me confused
safe, I guess.
when she was dead. I didn't like. It took me a second to clock that it would make sense that she was dead because A, she's our protagonist, and B, it just looks like she got kind of nipped a couple of times.
Right. And like there's not a lot of blood.
Not exactly. Not a lot.
And it's
of
actually
blood.
kind of rough when I didn't realize this movie also had a scene after that famous scene where Norman Bates goes in and mops up a very small amount of blood.
Oh, that scene. Yeah, but that scene is still devastating, right? Because it's just him mopping and like cleaning up a murder scene.
Yeah, it's good.
They shot that scene for 4 weeks.
Daniel, there's something I want to pick your brain of in looks. And
Hit me.
If you know, so it says, hold on, I lost it. There it is. So on the Wikipedia page, it says nearly the whole film was shot with 50 millimeter lenses on 30 millimeter cameras, providing an angle of a view similar to human vision. What does that mean?
Well, 50 millimeter lenses is just the focal length. So if you know anything about cameras, you know that the longer or the larger the number, the millimeter measurement, the tighter the shot. So oftentimes, a lot of films, if you're just trying to shoot a regular scene, you're either that involves people, you're shooting at a 50 or maybe an 85 because it's the most flattering and kind of the closest to what a human eye will see.
Right.
The stuff in terms of it being on a 30 millimeter camera, I don't know. Maybe that's the sensor, but it's a film camera, so I don't know how that would work. But clearly, they're like mixing and matching technologies to maybe get a little.
A depth
more?
of field a depth perception that is kind of more.
Well, maybe, but
humanized.
I was trying to clock just the general use of depth of field in this movie, and there's not a lot of it. Like for the most part, in a lot of these shots, most things are in focus. They do their focusing with light instead of the camera sharpness, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I if I had to guess, I would say they did it to take a 50 millimeter lens and slightly widen the view on it. But that's a guess. I don't know.
Fair enough.
So that's like the depth of the lens. So does it recreate human? I have no idea. Is that because like our corneas, like our like lens,
I think
are
whatever
roughly
that
50 millimeters or whatever,
or whatever that ratio is, might be the same
It's
ratio.
the scope. It's the field of vision, not so much the depth.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that I mean that might make sense.
Right. So we can see what we consider to be like a horizon, right? So they're trying to recreate that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Neato.
Interesting.
Well, so many fun facts about this movie. That's the thing. It's also like one of the most dissected movies probably ever. Psycho.
I can't
Because
believe
it's Hitchcock.
78 shots for
Did you know?
6 days. That's insane. I mean, I guess like I think I clocked like 8 or 9 cuts to different angles of her face in the shower before we ever see the other Norman Bates enter.
Yeah.
Which was really like this film does such fucking smart shit. Like just quickly cutting to different angles of her is enough to build tension. Right?
She's being
like,
watched, right? So many, like, you're suddenly being watched from all angles. So, fuck.
I guess, but that isn't even the case because he's coming in from the door. So, like it just unsettles you enough to just like know something is coming and something is wrong, even though you don't actually know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it was really, really effective. I was going to say something else about the look of this movie.
Black and white didn't have to be, but it was done because it was cheaper. Yep. Yeah, they did it on a budget of just over $800,000, and it made $50 million.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Holy shit! So also, how much was like $40,000 at the time that she was running away with? Is that like 500 grand?
Well, it's enough to buy a house. Buy a house outright.
Yeah.
In Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured it was like her running away with like $750,000 $1 million.
Like $1 million. Like $1 million. In
the 60s, really? 40,000?
I don't know. I mean, if we're basing it on house values, which are grossly inflated now.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly it had to be enough that audiences would be like, "Oh yeah, that I'd run away with that too."
Yeah. I'd take
right.
That.
You could like go build a new motel with it.
I like.
It's almost implied.
I like that she has to write down $40,000 minus $700 equals, and then rip that up and throw that in the toilet.
Look,
So
she was a bad secretary. So
yeah. Also, the first time a toilet had been flushed on film.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, and you see it because poop goes in there.
Right. It's funny. It's funny. Something did feel a little bit off about like a really attractive woman in a 60s movie flushing a toilet.
Flushing a toilet. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. Does that explain why you're dressed up the way you are today?
Me? Like a toilet?
No, Dan.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
No,
it really
I'm doing
did
my
something
best
to me.
I'm doing my best Norman Bates as his mom.
Yeah, I know you are. I'm saying, and you're doing that because you saw an
Because I
attractive
watched
woman.
a hot woman flush a toilet.
Correct. That's what I'm implying.
It ruined me, guys.
Oh dear.
All right. So then we got PG. We got the Psycho Goreman, right?
Yeah.
And it does less like a consistent. It has a pretty consistent. It has three visual tones. I want to say, it has like human world. It has the like heavy metal inspired outer space stuff, and then it has men in costumes in the forest.
Yep.
But I would argue though that they are all the same visual tone.
Yeah.
It has because they all fit so cohesively together. It is one just like cohesive visual style and tone that they've established that just happens to encompass 3 different arenas.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue though that I'm not really disagreeing with you. I would say that part of the tone they wanted to set was like not fish out of water, but the fact that it doesn't fit. That when Psycho Goreman is in the world, he sticks out. That's like part of the joke. So like whenever the Psycho Goreman stuff, or like, you know, that their friend gets turned into a brain blob, it's
so fucking dumb.
It's so dumb. It's like it sticks out from the like almost abundantly like not drab, but just like basic human
like
existence that we see around
pasty
them.
suburban life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, that seems to be the humor of the visual humor of the film is partly to do with the fact that like it's like that doesn't belong here. So when we do see guys in costumes out in the forest, they would have fit in the alien set that was built for them. But when you put them just in like a ravine somewhere, it's quite funny just to see like a guy standing in the background, like he's waiting to fight in a Mortal Kombat movie.
I mean, Sean, you kind of made this joke earlier, but I honestly described this movie to Marisa as if the 90s version, like the original iteration of Power Rangers, was shot on cinema cameras with a better score. That's what the visual aesthetic of this film
100%.
is.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%.
And I was floored by how much of a difference that makes. Just choose better shots, have better music, add some letterbox lines, and your production value, you can make Power Rangers look great.
Well, because we forgive you, because the first time I was kind of broken of the visual aesthetic was when the like intergalactic council was meeting to determine what to do with Psycho Goreman, and I saw the like eyes behind Pandora's mask there, and I saw like the jawline of the real person inside the mask, and I went, oh, but I forgave it because the movie had spent the entirety of its runtime up to that point creating this beautiful vision for me. So I went, you know what, I'll see the makeup, that's fine. I fully buy everything you're giving to me right now.
Totally. And I think there's also, beyond the fact that they've created this beautiful visual world, they're also self-aware enough to be poking fun at themselves the entire time. So by the time you get to her, you're in on the joke. So it's not like your expectation is super high. You're like, okay, this fits perfectly in this world that we're in.
It's people in suits doing the best they can do. Yeah. And it's great.
It has that lovely charm that like kind of sci-fi can get away with the most, like a lot of like Doctor Who type stuff.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
it's like super camp.
Yeah. And it's the thing. It's like, it's just about having fun. And if you were to watch this movie being like, I'm expecting a serious thriller, it's like, oh, you're watching the wrong movie. Like, but it's, as we have been saying, it sets its tone so quick, so well right away, and then you just gotta kind of get to enjoy this like weird theme park ride that they've built for us.
Yeah,
and I love like every part of it. I love those flashbacks too to the history stuff. I love that they had the visual bit. He's like where he's talking about how eating people is the great honor. And then he's like, I remember the battle. And he's like on like this space railway, and he's riding it towards just like a giant mouth monster. Yeah. And then someone is like, no, and he cuts back, and I was like, you're very funny. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. He has a couple of like memory montages killed by the little girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love that's the perfect warrior's death, but nobody wants it. Everyone's like, no, please, not that.
It's horrifying. Yo, when they showed it. Holy fuck. I don't know how they did that. They built some whole other Psycho Goreman like suits and stuff or whatever just to make the giant mouth. And it's actually quite horrifying. It's a really dark turn that I was like, fuck. That's a nightmare.
The practical effects in this movie throughout are insane. But the violence, like when the kids first walk in, or is it the kids? The kids first walk in and they see the one
warehouse
dude who's been like split into he's been turned into like a ritualistic symbol on the fence, and then they find the guy who's trapped in his own mind. That to me was the most terrifying concept of the entire movie.
It was a real gross.
Just this guy who's like frozen, and his eyes are just flipping back constantly, and you're just
he's
stuck in your own
eternal
mind.
pain.
Yeah.
But even the cop that gets transformed.
Oh, so good. So good. You want an example of how this movie is brilliant? That's it. That fucking cop.
His physical acting is brilliant. I'll say that.
If you know, who is it? Munch, the Scream, the painting of the Scream.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
It's essentially that in a police uniform with a guy welded to his hand.
When he tries to kill himself,
He's like,
and he can't.
no. Like, the voice is like, but the hands over it. There's like a Valentine heart, and it says, "Please kill me" on it in blood.
Beautiful.
One thing I will say, and I don't know
Stark.
what this is. I noticed that there's a lot of shots, especially wide shots in this movie, that were like slightly out of focus. And it's something that I'm used to seeing a lot in like 90s films, and I don't know if that was an intentional thing as like an homage to the time, or if it was just a byproduct of the kind of lenses they were shooting on to create this kind of visual aesthetic. I don't know what it was, but
It looked like a fisheye lens a lot because the center was deeply in focus, and then around the edges in most of the shots were completely blurry.
yeah, I think a lot of this movie was shot on anamorphic lenses, which does that. It creates a much wider angle, but you do see some
Some distortion around the outside. Eh?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
But I'm
which
talking.
did annoy me a lot.
Well, I'm talking about when like the focal point of the image in the center of the frame was just like slightly out of focus, like the entire thing. And I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it could
took
just
6
be
days to get the shot where he unhinges his jaw, and
Right. I
Shot
could
that
see that
for
being true
4
though.
months.
It was very complicated.
yeah.
In general, I'll say I loved the design of everything.
Yeah.
I thought Psycho's design was pretty fun, and all the designs of the ants. Like when we first got to go to that alien boardroom, I was like, absolutely,
So cool.
let's do it. And all the flashbacks and the mix of like practical, like animatronic heads and costumes and prosthetics and silly costumes, and then like floating claymation stuff. There's like a robot that came in. I don't know how they do that style of animation, but it's like a floating thing. That's really fun. And then combined with like the crazy exaggerated green screen, like Flash Gordon style space things where they have like a bit of like a fire geyser that you pan across before you show us. Like it was very, very fun. And I was essentially just in for all of it.
It's a loving homage to every single sci-fi trope that you grew up loving, and you will love it in this if you watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the one that didn't work for me was the brain blob kid.
No,
It turned my stomach a bit too much, I think.
it was horrible.
It's kind of horrifying. And it just seemed like something that the creators thought was really funny. That like they brought it back like in the end credits, sort of like that. Like the kid is like eating dinner with his parents.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, you think you're really funny. And it's like, it's okay. I don't know. It wasn't my fave.
I kind of enjoyed that those actors were just instructed to come in and sit with a brain prop and eat in front of the camera.
Correct.
I appreciated that day of work for those two actors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Is there anything else that we want to say about these movies? Much love for both movies this week.
Much love.
Well, let's carry on.
let's move on.
Yeah.
So end of round into our third official round, which is sound.
Did it sound good for you? Did we like the sound? How does it sound?
There was some
It
sound.
sounded good for me too. Thank you.
So Psycho. I thought the score made this movie.
Yep.
It was the driving force between, I would say, 90% of the tension buildup in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It only really changes once, I think, and that's during the shower scene.
Yep.
So by 3/4 of the way through, I was kind of tired of it. But again, like efficiency, like this guy, he just like created a world with essentially one score and used that to drive the film home, and that was
Da, 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 da. That's that.
Right.
That one.
It did a
Right
good
there.
job for me for being in the in just in the background for enough of the time.
yeah.
But it's like it's iconic.
Yeah.
Like some of the sounds of this movie. Of course, the shower scene.
The shower scene, which Hitchcock wanted to be silent, and the composer had to be like, "No, just watch what I wrote for this, please. Do you watch it with what I wrote?"
Jeremy's like, "You must
very
be
good.
Watch what I wrote for it. I wrote something very special for the stabbing."
Is Hans Zimmer the?
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I wrote something really special.
I wrote a very special. That's my Arnold.
That was yeah. Okay, that was something.
It's good. It's good. That's good sound.
So yes, so very effective, efficient score for Psycho in my opinion. But it's gonna be tough to beat the score for PG, man.
Because what sticks out for you for PG? Like,
Yeah.
what is it?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I just loved what I loved about PG was that it wasn't overly original in the fact that it was kind of playing up the Stranger Things kind of 80s synth tracks, but it was so justified because of what it was doing. And I think part of the reason why it was doing that was because they were poking fun at the trendiness of it, which I liked. And what really tipped it off for me was the pseudo Power Rangers theme song during Crazy Ball off the top.
Right.
But
Because it was original music in this, right? Like they weren't just playing
For the score, yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, and the songs they wrote too, yeah.
And
Yeah,
they
it
definitely
was-
had an original rap at the end for the credits.
Yes, they did.
And
But
the-
they
the
weren't
f-
just playing Poison songs. Like they were playing real stuff, right? Yeah, which is much appreciated.
Yeah, but I still love that sound. I love the classic rock electric guitar riffs and stings, and it's all fucking. It was all dope, and I mean, both scores were incredible. This is the first week where I actually took serious note of both scores in the film because they were so effective at just helping build the world and helping you.
tough
They actually
week.
contributed to the story.
Yeah. It's a tough week. That Frig You song was pretty funny when it was in the montage.
yeah.
And when it came
When it
back,
came
I was
back.
like, "Meh."
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But the montage, I remember being like, "Oh, this is so dope."
Yeah. Hilarious.
Great montage, funny all around. The fact that they just had him playing the drums, and the fact that none of what they were playing matched the music. I was like, yeah, I don't care either that it doesn't match.
Fine.
You're right.
She's singing into one of those echo microphones that I always wanted as a kid, so I'm in.
You never had one? I guess I never had one either, actually.
No.
Friends had one.
Friends.
The fact that they also ADR'd all the monster voices, I kind of appreciated.
Oh, but there were scenes where the ADR was terrible.
On the people?
There's some rough.
On
yeah.
humans?
People
Yes,
and the
yes,
monsters. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Agreed.
Terrible.
But again, for what that movie was doing and for what the imagined budget of it was, I forgave that pretty quickly.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And so the ADR on what's her name? The main, I guess, sort of hero villain. She's
Mimi?
one of the paladins.
Mimi.
Oh, Pandora.
Pandora or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pandora. That was just an animatronic mouth, right? There was no real mouth in it. Or I was like,
No,
is
I
there
think she had. I
No,
think it was her
there's a-
mouth.
There's an
but it was just
actor in there.
hard to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone being trying to move a mouth through
was probably-
a very stiff.
It was bigger. It was bigger than your face, right? Probably. So it only got the movement of the extreme movement of the jaw.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was silly. I liked it. I didn't get when he made a new sword out of her parts.
Well, he had to match her sword. She had the sword of glory or whatever, so he had to rip her bones out of her body to create his own sword.
The sword
Yeah,
of
but by the
glory.
time that he dismembered her to make the sword,
Yeah, the fight was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Some things that seemed like someone came up with early on in development, and then they just kept doing.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Keep vamping or go on to acting. I don't care.
Better be.
I'll be
better
right
for
back.
good reason.
Okay.
Should we
But
just
yeah.
spend 2 minutes talking shit about Sean?
I mean, mainly I would say I don't like Sean because of
Full stop.
his bandanas, and I know
Yeah,
he's
me too.
He's been so proud of them. I haven't been able to be it looks so bad, you know, like,
Yeah,
and
dude,
you look dumb,
look
and I hate
fucking
you.
Stupid, and like I didn't know you could get uglier, but there it is.
Yeah, like I've been trying to like you for so many years, and this is really making it hard.
We love you,
maybe
Sean.
listen back to this.
Yeah, when you hear this later. Sounds good.
Yeah, no, let's end it. Or is there anything else in the movie that you remember that you just want to give a shout out to?
I don't know. I'll probably shout out some funny lines I liked during the like or gripe session.
Yeah,
but
same.
yeah.
Well, end of round. Let's end there. Boom. And going into our fourth and final official round, acting. Was the acting good in your opinion? In your humble opinion of acting, did you like one of the more than the other? Okay. So
we got to work on that, man.
I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's what the people might want.
maybe we'll ask Titan Waffle later. Acting. Well, we kind of touched on this earlier. I mean, in Psycho, there is some gross 60s overacting, but I think
but more toned down than a lot of other stuff in that period. This I generally thought the acting was quite good, especially because by Norman Bates.
I thought Norman Bates was putting on a fucking acting clinic in this movie.
Yeah, hands down.
Anthony Perkins, like, fucking phenomenal performance.
Yeah.
And he reprised his role in Psycho 2 and 3 and 4.
And 4. Yeah, I think this was kind of like his like baby until he died. Is he dead now?
He is. He got typecast after this one. No one could see him as anything other than a creep. So
he probably made his money though. He was probably fine.
Oh yeah, he was asked. Yeah. He was asked if he would do it again. If he knew he would be typecasted doing Psycho, would he still have done the movie? He was like, yeah. But
where does the story possibly go from there?
I don't know. I did not look into it. We'll discover it when we do, I don't know what, American Psycho versus Psycho 2.
We should do Psycho 4 at the beginning.
Versus Psycho 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's got to be a story there because they made a whole show out of this after, didn't they? Bates Motel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Norman Bates, phenomenal. What's her
Janet
face?
Leigh, phenomenal.
The mother,
Janet Leigh was
so good.
The mother was so good.
Oh, so good. The corpse.
But Janet Leigh also,
it's
especially for the time, fucking incredible.
I thought she was great
in a movie where pervy Alfred Hitchcock. Because I don't know how much we need to touch on it, but Alfred Hitchcock was the bad man. But he just has her. About that. There's tons of movies and books about it. He's a bad man. He was a perv, and he had her in her underwear for most of the film because he liked it, and he knew audiences will like it because he liked it. So to do a movie
which
where
is
mostly
different from modern filmmaking.
I think modern filmmaking is the way it is because of people like
Alfred Hitchcock. Sure,
yeah.
Trailblazer.
But to do that in a movie where you're forced to just like be naked for most of it, fucking amazing. She's so good. When she's in the car and she's driving and she's having and the thoughts are going through, I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal too. I didn't her decision to just like up and what's happening?
Nothing. Jack's just laughing at me.
Oh yeah, you're driving the car.
I'd like to film so much. When I find a film that makes
thought she
me
was
feel
good.
great.
I thought those shots were a bit silly. I thought she was doing a really great job. I was like, why are we getting 90 seconds of her face just face on? It's great face, great acting.
It's like the thoughts, though, right?
In her monologue, you need to just see the
where she was like imagining what people were saying at that time or what they were going to say and all that stuff. Yeah, it was.
I thought it was actually very clever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a simple technique, but that's what would be fucking happening. This person who's clearly out of her depths. She's you know what I mean? And now she's like beginning to spiral. And part of that is anticipating the reactions of the people in her life. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not saying I didn't like the premise. or like the conceit or whatever.
The boyfriend was good, and then shortly
Not so
before the end of the film, shortly before the terrible scene, he went in a weird direction. When they go to the motel, the boyfriend becomes mostly an incoherent person.
Well, when he decides that when he shifts to like detective boyfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he puts on an accent. And he like, he didn't know what was happening.
Are you uncomfortable when I ask you things like this?
Yeah.
So, can we talk to your mother? Where is she? And what would someone do with $40,000? Maybe you've got it. Maybe you've got plans for it.
And Anthony Perkins is being like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. No."
I'd like you to leave, please.
Like, I think it'd be better if you left now.
Yeah.
Please leave.
What do you mean? You want me to leave, huh?
But I mean, I think if we're being honest, there's one kind of standout star in this movie, and that is a psychiatrist.
Yeah, we've said all we can
Right.
about his rave performance. You know.
We could see his acting so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I missed seeing like a first year theater school scene study performance like that, where it's someone just figuring it out.
Yeah,
still.
he's hitting the points ish.
He should have had a notepad.
He should have. I could have taught him a thing or two about
That he
notepad
clicked
acting.
with his
And a
pencil.
badge.
Yeah.
That he would just
Yeah.
show people.
Yeah.
I'm a psychiatrist.
Psycho Goreman has acting in it too.
It does.
Stephen Vlahos nails it as the voice actor. Let's say that.
Yep. Steve.
Absolutely.
I'm not
Absolutely.
joking, actually.
No,
Did a great
I'm
job.
not either.
Yeah. No, but I'm not joking about it.
Okay. But I also wasn't. Anyways, I think that was the perfect pairing of body and voice for that character. I thought it was genius. The kids were
They did the thing.
they were like hit and miss. I thought that I was gonna like the brother a lot more because he starts off as kind of like dry-witted,
Yeah.
and then when he becomes just like a big old bitch, like 20 minutes into the movie, it's hard to like him anymore. And that's obviously the writing, but like, and I think that he's doing like a pretty good job of delivering an understated performance. But he just, I don't know.
It's tough.
Just,
It's real tough.
yeah.
We've already kind of talked a bit about like a lot of the actors in this movie. I'll say I think it maybe suffers from a bit of like when we know less about PG and the backstory stuff, we are like identifying with them more. I think it's one of those things that as we learn more and more about that world and get to see more and more of that world, they just start to kind of dim in comparison. That I think it's hard to maintain interest in them. You know, like they can't keep up with the camp of the effects and of the flashbacks. And I think by the end, they just end up feeling a bit out of place in their own movie somehow.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about right now?
The parents, the
Just
family.
like the human characters,
Yeah.
the family.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I really disagree with you guys about the parents, the dad in particular. I think the little girl stays very present and prominent in this film
Oh, yeah.
to the end.
Yeah.
And like you said, Sean, she is for a child actor, she is making some very bold and often very strong and clever choices.
Yeah.
It gets to be a little bit much as the film goes on, and like, you know, it's lacking some nuance, but she's like 7
Yeah.
or
Part of
whatever.
the writing though, like they wrote her as like a nut job that you
Yes.
actually you eventually just find it hard when she's like, "Psycho, kill him," and she's like,
You're like,
"I'm
oh.
kidding." I was like, "That's what? That's
Okay.
one fucked and 2 not funny and bad writing." Like,
What I do like is her bye.
Just carrying on as they leave the warehouse. Yeah.
Zoom just asked me if I'm playing music.
Zoom's got all these new features today.
oh shit.
Weird. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess the one point of contention here is the parents. I think that the mom was fine.
Yeah.
I don't
was
think that
fine.
she was like a
They're
standout.
both fine.
I think that
Yeah.
I think that as a peripheral character, she served her purpose, and I believed her as the woman that she was written as. And I didn't like the dad as a character. I did it first for about 10 minutes, and then as we learned more about him, I liked him less and less, which kind of is why I'm defending the point that he's not supposed to be the cool dad, because he wasn't likable. But still fucking funny. Some of the shit they had him saying and doing was hilarious, and that is largely in part due to the acting, due to the performance of the guy.
He had some great deliveries. I think my issues are really more story issues, like how they were integrated into the overall story and how they fit in, and maybe some choices they made or how they developed. I thought they were fine performers in the movie. Like, I thought the dad was very funny. Like, I thought he had some of the best deliveries in the whole movie. And I thought she wasn't breaking the movie in any way as the mom. I thought she was good. So I don't know. That's all I need to say about this movie. And then everyone else is just people having fun in costumes.
Yeah,
pretty jokes.
Rich Evans, if you watch Red Letter Media at all, the gore bot that just shoots blood out of its two guns is voiced by Rich Evans from Red Letter Media.
Which one is Rich? The little guy or the big guy?
He's the really big guy. Not the Bruno. The black hair. The really big guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Who has kind of the high voice.
Yeah. Oh my God, and which he used to say "Oh my God" in this film. Yeah.
Very good. Love that.
That shit was so fucking funny.
That's all I need to say about acting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's fucking keep this train moving.
Points? All right. Let's keep the train moving. No. Boom. So end of round. Let's go into the favorite all throughout the planets from Gygax to Earth, the most beloved round of likes and grapes. Likes and grapes. This is a lightning round. We have 2 minutes. We list out likes and grapes, anything that we didn't have time to get to in the regular rounds, and that's it. Hopefully that makes sense to you as a smart person. Ready? Sean, Dan, Jack, yeah?
Right on.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Like killing your protagonist in the development.
Like champions don't eat broccoli.
Like the secretary hooked on tranquilizers.
Like this wacko premise.
Like PG questioning his sexuality.
Gripe convenient bogs.
Like Cassius 3000.
Oh yeah. Like PG screaming telegram to the dad in the bathroom.
This is the line based on what you said then, but like the line, I do not care for hunky boys, or do I?
Yep, that's the one. Gripe house cost $40,000 at one point.
I have that one too. Like destroying crucifixes.
Like the nightmare sequence. That was great.
Gripe ADR.
Like dad's chill baseball story about getting into a van with a stranger. Do you forget that one?
Gripe. Gripe that all of the Bates Motel doors are just unlocked all the time.
Yeah.
Like covering the eyeballs of the brain in a jar.
Like the line, I'm dying of thirsteroonie.
Like the derpy zombie cop.
Like the money is meaningless, but everyone keeps thinking it's important.
Like sandwiches and milk for dinner.
Like also what felt like just a lack of people being mic'd properly in Psycho Goreman.
Like hunky boys.
Fucking pass.
Gripe creepy rich men.
There we go. What a great gripe.
It's a gripe for the ages, that one. Except for Musk. Elon Musk will save us all. So let's rate some movies, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
So, starting with our first category of story.
This is tough.
I'm gonna start it off then and say I love both. I think both movies have real strengths, as we talked about, in almost all categories. Strengths for both movies, and all decisions that I'll make today, I think, will be based on a pretty small scale of difference of like what one I really would favor.
For sure.
Psycho is a masterclass. It's wonderful. I'm voting for Psycho Goreman. The imaginative abandon and the pure, just like joie de vivre that the movie had, that is just like about fun and having a good time, I think is amazing. And I want more of that in cinema, if I'm being honest, than I want more of movies made like Psycho that are very serious and occasionally they're well done and you like them a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Psycho Goreman was super refreshing and what I think movies actually should be, and that is kind of breaking the template and just making movies that you think are fucking hilarious. And the fact that it was picked up by Shudder and is like available to a wide audience now and is being distributed, it makes me so happy as someone who loves film. And I mean, it had a consistent, dependable story throughout. And for that, I think for that alone, it gets my vote.
All right. I'm like completely teetering on the fence here. But I think I'm going to give mine to Psycho purely as a protest and purely just to say, like, if you want to watch a movie that is efficient as fuck and except for the last scene, just does everything it needs to do to make you invested in a film. If, like Jack said, if you want to watch a masterclass script, you got to watch Psycho. So Psycho.
I will say, while there are flaws in both, that last scene in Psycho is a real problem for me. Yeah. And if it didn't have that scene, there's no way I could have not given it to Psycho. Right. But unfortunately, it has that scene, and it's very long. And as we talked about, it's a big steamy dump. So it gave me enough leeway to squeeze through
absolutely
my favoritism of Psycho Goreman.
I think what they should have done actually is just have the same monologue, but delivered by Norman Bates as his mom in costume.
Yeah. Okay, no, how about...
actually could have been better. Actually, no.
How about this one? Norman Bates as played by Jared Leto playing the Joker, delivering that final scene, you know?
Sean as Arnold Schwarzenegger, as Jared Leto, as Norman Bates.
Jack doing bits and pieces of dialogue from throughout the movie as Barack Obama.
No, we can't.
Okay, so it goes to Psycho Goreman.
Yes, Psycho Goreman. 1-0.
Looks. Cornucopia of silly fun, clean.
It's so. This one is really tough, and like normally I'm not actually bothered by a tough decision, but these two films are so fucking close.
Yeah.
Because what we talked about, I mean, bad expositional scene, story flaws, whatever you have that can fault Psycho, it is brilliant visual storytelling.
Yeah.
It is. Yep. It sets the mold.
Yeah, exactly. But and Psycho Goreman, it's borrowing a lot. But its production design is so fun and so strong, and the fact that like most things that they accomplish are done practically.
I mean,
I don't know.
Films, right?
It feels
but I mean, like, but PG is doing a lot more visually than Psycho is.
It's like quality versus quantity almost.
For
kind
me,
of,
you know.
For me, the difference is with Psycho. It's cinema. It's the camera work. It is the camera work and the lighting that are just earth shattering. In Psycho Goreman, it's the design.
Yeah.
That is earth shattering. And I'm going to choose.
Yeah, it's hard, right?
Can we pass for now and like hop back?
Let's double back to this one. Let's double back.
Shit!
Is that a possibility? I feel like we're all hung, right?
It's our podcast, and
I'm super hung. I don't know about you.
I think no one else cares. I'm maybe a bit on one side, but I'm happy to come back.
Okay, let's come back.
All right. So
let's talk about sound.
Let's do sound.
Let's do sound.
Yeah. Psycho.
I have to agree and say Psycho.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna pull a Sean and I think go Psycho Gorman. A, in protest, but B, there was just for me there was more variety and more fun to be had with the score of Psycho Gorman, and so much of what makes the film great is the atmosphere that it creates, and that is largely in part due to sound and the score. So, yeah, I'm gonna go PG.
That's fair. Well, Psycho gets that one.
Do you want to go one more round and then double
one more.
back?
Let's do acting and double back, and then do rewatch. Yeah.
Okay. So much for the format, folks.
Acting.
No, I'm joking.
No, let's do acting.
Pissy
yeah.
little bitch. Yeah.
I'm just bitch.
Pissy little
You bitch.
I know, you bitch.
Calm down, kids. Psycho for acting. Norman Bates alone takes it for me. He is the stand-up performance in both movies, I think, hands down.
Yeah, I agree.
In protest, just because Stephen Vlahos.
You're voting for the indigenous people of.
Just because Stephen Vlahos really, I think, elevated. No, I'm also saying Psycho.
Ah.
But shout out to Stephen Vlahos, because that is that was a very superb performance.
I do not care for hunky boys.
Not my hunky boys.
Do I?
So good.
I'm just gonna say that to him
I?
next time we see him.
Yeah.
All right. Fucking looks.
Yeah. Fuck.
I'll start it.
I'll start
it.
It. Sorry, what's
Jack
the score
will
before?
It's
2-1
Psycho.
for Psycho.
Okay.
I'm a big old slut for design. You know what I mean? And it's kind of how you said it, Sean, is kind of where I wanted to put my vote, which is, and it kind of helped me make that decision, which is that, look, sometimes I see nice camera work and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
But really, if I'm being honest about like where my heart lies, it's in beautiful design. I'm the one who's always like, oh, it's practical. It's this.
Yep.
It looks amazing. The way you set it up, that shot. Whoa. It's not so much about like the lens choice and just like I appreciate it, but it's like not the thing that really like tickles
Totally.
my loins, right?
Yeah.
And what does is design. And for me, it was like a feast in Psycho Goreman. Even when the movie started to lose me, they would introduce new stuff, more stuff, and I loved every single thing. So Psycho Goreman.
Yeah. Like the film arrogance in me wants to stick with Psycho because I feel like that's like the right thing to do for cinema.
For cinema.
For cinema. But the part of me, the nostalgic part of me that still to this day likes watching retro episodes of Power Rangers and loves everything camp, which is, I mean, admittedly a far bigger part of me than the film snob part of me, wants to go PG. So yeah, I'm for kind of the same but different reasons, I'm also going to go Psycho Goreman, I think.
Well, if you want what the film snob is going to choose, then it's Psycho Goreman.
Wait, is the film snob you?
Yeah,
the
I
film
was
snob?
being
Okay.
the film snob.
Oh, I
there.
see. And that,
Yeah.
is that
You
your
also
vote?
chose Psycho Goreman.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
Psycho Goreman. I
All right.
also, Jack, I think I'm in line with you. You kind of convinced me. I like the feast, and I mostly just want to reward creativity
Yes.
of the mass rather than creativity of the individual, which was Hitchcock. He's got his rewards, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's just like, but end of the day, which movie am I left with more things that I'm going to be thinking about and seeing in my head and in my nightmares? Some of the things, like,
well, it's a 2-2 tie. Headed to rewatchability.
with
I mean, I think that's
which is
an
not a
easy
good,
one for
which is
me.
it's not a good category to be going into for Psycho, I think.
Oh, my vote's totally for Psycho.
See, I don't think that I can watch Psycho again and enjoy it because such a huge part of the impact of that movie is the climax. And once you know what the story is, you can't watch it through the lens of like a surprised viewer. You can appreciate
Right.
elements of it, but you can't really go on the ride
Well, let me walk
the
you
story.
through. Let me walk you through my reasoning, and I've conceded the point, I think. But I watched this film last night for the fourth time, probably something like that, and I still had that feeling of like awe and wonder at just like the craft and creating a film and making something like Psycho is. How that I was still in awe after watching it, and I watched Psycho Goreman and I had a good time, and I'm really happy that group of people put their efforts into this film and I enjoyed it. It's not something that I necessarily need to watch again.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I can definitely appreciate and admire all of the masterful techniques that are utilized in Psycho. But like I said at the top of this thing, Psycho Goreman is it feels like it was personally handcrafted for me.
Yeah, totally.
And I mean, it's everything I want in a movie. I will watch that so many more times. So yeah.
Yeah, and
I vote
it's
Psycho.
like I look.
All right, and there's the point, and it wins.
So is for you, Dan. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I hope that we can watch the sequels when they come out, because I imagine they're
I
going to
will watch
do
those.
it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'd be funny. We could just keep doing Psycho Gorman 2 versus Psycho 2 and just see how it continues to hold up. It's honestly not just a question of which one I would watch again. It's like this week makes me think about, like, which one would I want to make? And like, if I'm being honest, it's so much. I mean, it's even like our stupid shows that we make.
Yeah.
Like, I just look. There's a place for movies where they classics, and we've given much praise to the classics on this podcast.
At least 50%.
Yeah, but when shut up. But when new life steps forward and makes itself known and does so boldly as this movie, I find it like irresistible to not be totally in its corner every step of the way. That I would stomp on any classic movie to make room for movies like this to exist more in the world. Yeah. So Psycho Goreman for the fucking win.
Woof. Well,
so
the votes are in.
Yeah, the votes are in with a score of 3-2. But close fucking all the way through. The Citizen Kane of the week is...
I do not care for hunky boys.
Psycho Goreman, or PG for short.
Pugga.
Yay.
Congratulations,
Hard fought
Steven.
win. Hard fought win.
Yeah.
Hard fought. Most other movies would not have stood a chance, let alone came out victorious.
No. Good pairing.
You know? Thank you.
Good pairing.
So leading into pairings, we got some movies for next week or next episode. I guess we're taking a week off or two.
Yeah. We're gonna take a week off, everyone. So don't tune in next week.
Yeah, you know, don't
bitches.
Don't wait up.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of fitting though that so next week. We already know we're doing Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Doing our Sam Raimi week next episode. Which is kind of fitting because I think Psycho Goreman has pulled a lot of influences from our classic in the pairing, which is going to be Evil Dead.
Right on.
Fantastic.
I think we'll go Evil Dead 2 actually. Arguably the better of the two.
Do we need to know Evil Dead 1 to know Evil Dead 2?
Not really.
Okay.
No, it's essentially the same story. They give you what you need in the fucking prologue.
The preamble,
Yeah. Have you never seen Evil Dead? Neither one of you?
Nah.
I think I've seen some of it maybe with you. I know what it like is. I know what its vibe is.
I mean, Evil Dead 2 is definitely the more classic of the two because because what they did was Sam Raimi made Evil Dead as like a thesis film, and then got funding to like do it better, and then he did Evil Dead 2, which essentially follows the same premise, just on a higher budget and with some story tweaks.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
So
versus.
we can.
Evil Dead 2 versus
Evil Dead 2. I guess. I mean, I want to. I'm getting tired of getting flack for picking shit movies on this thing.
Well, good. It's working then.
Yeah, good.
But I know we talked about Oz, the Great and Powerful.
Ooh.
But like that's not gonna fly.
Is that too trashy? So like Spider-Man 3.
I was thinking maybe Spider-Man 3. Did he do all three of them?
Yeah, he did.
Spider-Man 3 is pretty good. You don't need to know much about Spider-Man 1 or 2. We've both seen them.
I was thinking we're going to be on another podcast and we're going to do their Sam Raimi week. So I was thinking I was going to watch all the Spider-Mans anyways, just to
great.
Just to
I mean, Spider-Man 1 and 2 are definitely in the classic pile, I think,
hands down.
But yeah, Spider-Man 3 is pretty trashy. But maybe we'll stand a better chance against Evil Dead. And you guys might also not like Evil Dead. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a better choice because it will have some things, I guess. But Oz, the Great and Powerful is
that's like a
non-starter. It's hardly even schlock. It's just bad. It's just a piece of garbage movie.
Yeah. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go Evil Dead 2 versus Spider-Man 3?
Battle of the sequels.
Battle of the Sam Raimi sequels.
Perfect. Yeah, that works better anyway.
I love it.
Yeah, the marketing department will love that.
Me?
Yeah, Sean. Just Sean, really. All right. Thanks, everyone. We didn't ask you to do anything this week. Let's leave it that way.
We should shout out the other podcasts that you guys are going to be on.
Yes, we absolutely should. I'm just gonna, so it's gonna be called, as soon as I pull up the messages, the Jacked Up Review Show podcast. They're a movie review pod out of Dallas, Texas, I believe. Yeah. So rock and roll.
Oh, they're out of Texas. You guys are going to be podding with people in America.
We are.
Nice.
We are, and we will be stepping around political topics, I'm sure.
Oh no, I'm gonna do my best just to pull us into race relations.
Nice. Jack's gonna open with have you seen our Twitter? That's mainly powered by Sean. I'm sure he has a lot of opinions. You should talk to him about Palestine and Israel.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. All right.
Go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go. Fucking congratulations, Psycho Goreman, and let's get Steven on the pod, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look out behind you, Daniel.
And
I want to see if I could beatbox and do that sound at the same time, but I don't think I'm that talented.
Okay.
Not only is Zoom canceling out most of what you're doing, but it also sounds like a weird horror dubstep thing. I love it. Can you do it slower?
Citizen Kane.
Yeah, Miranda gave me a look of hey, that's not bad. So
we heard half of it. You want to try again?
No. Citizen Kane versus